what does gutsy mean to you?
Oh, this is so good. This is like one of my favorite questions that you ask. I think gutsy is really about doing things when you don't have a lot of support. Like, people don't mean to be mean, but they can be a little judgy at times in this society. And I think when you do things that are outside of the box, you're definitely gutsy. So if you're listening to this podcast, you're for sure gutsy. If you're starting a business, go for it. If you're on a personal development journey, 90% of people never get to that place. So congratulate yourself. And you're all definitely gutsy in my mind.
Welcome to the Gutsy Podcast, the show where you learn how to own what you actually want and shift the mind junk that's been holding you back. I'm Laura Ora, keynote speaker, coach, and your guide to help you get clarity, build confidence, and make the gutsy moves that change your life. Each week, I'm going to help you simplify things by teaching you how to get out of your head while stepping into action. This way you can achieve all those life shifts that you've been overthinking. Your desire, that drives you. But gutsy, that's what gets it done. Have you ever opened your web browser or whatever planning tool that you use to post on social media for your business and caught yourself thinking, why does posting about my business feel so heavy right now? Where are all the ideas that I once had? Why do I feel like I have to do this, but I don't really want to? Yeah, same. I hear you. And I'm also here to tell you that you're not unmotivated. You're probably misaligned. In this episode of the Gutsy Podcast, I'm joined by Caitlin Avery, an intuitive brand strategist who helps entrepreneurs create brands that feel like home again. Today, we're talking about what to do when social media is just killing your business vibe, how to shift out of burnout, realign with your message, and start showing up with clarity, ease, and authenticity. Ultimately, making it easier to talk about your business and show up for your audience. If your online presence doesn't feel like you anymore, this episode is your reset. Caitlin is the founder and creative director of Meraki Media Management, and she helps entrepreneurs build authentic, soul-aligned brands through intuitive strategy and business coaching. Passionate about meaningful connection, Caitlin empowers her clients to show up confidently and thrive, both online and off. I really enjoy talking about intuitive creation. Like, how do you create content when you're on the fly and when you're inspired versus how do you plan ahead and schedule that stuff out? Like, it's a bit of a chess game. We dig into that. So if that's your vibe and you're ready to make this easier again, let's get into it. Hello, Miss Caitlin. Welcome to the Gutsy Podcast.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Absolutely. We're talking about intuitive creation, intuitive marketing, writing content from an intuitive standpoint, which I think is so important, but because we tend to just write that part of ourselves off or say like, oh, that's not enough, or that's not the right thing, or that doesn't fit into like a perfect strategy model. So I'm very glad that we're having this conversation. I found it really interesting. The very first thing on your website says, does your social media kill your vibe?
Yeah.
Let's start there because I think that is very, very relevant. Talk to me about what that means and your intent behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. I find a lot of my clients, the people that I attract, hate their social media. They almost have a love-hate relationship with it. They know that they have to be doing it, but they find this like push and pull. I work with a lot of holistic-based, wellness-based businesses, and they've been given so much information on how to do it the best way that it ends up numbing their intuition. And it ends up just killing their entire excitement, honestly, for the platforms, whether that be TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, like honestly, all of the platforms, they just feel so burnt out by. So that's what I mean by that statement.
Incredibly relatable. I know that so many business owners start because they want to do the thing that they do best. But oh, by the way, you have to do the social media thing as well. And
Yes.
so a lot of us go into business not knowing how to do it or wanting to do it, but it's kind of a necessary evil, but it's also like a huge opportunity at the same point. So I can see that kind of tug of war, love hate relationship situation. And man, I really love what you said that they've been taught how to do it the best way, which has numbed their intuition.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that because that feels like it's got some meat and potatoes to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I see this all the time where clients will come to me and they're like, this is the best time of day to post, or this is what a coach told me is the best thing to post. And if I don't fall within those three pillars, that I'm doing something wrong or I've behaved badly with my marketing. And I have to remind them, like, you're an adult. Honestly, you're an entrepreneur. You should feel so empowered to say whatever you want online, and that's actually what people want to hear. So the fact that they're already like numbing and having to go back to the drawing board, right? We almost have to strip all of those beliefs away when we start working together, create a blank slate so that then we can get back into like, who are you? Why do you even create this business? Throw all the pillars out the window. I always like to say, if you need some sort of starting point, like if you're lost as an entrepreneur, which happens, we lose our identity in the business and the creation, go back to your values. Why are you here? What do you really care about? What matters to you most? It's highly likely that that also matters to your clients, very much so. So those are great places to start if you need to put yourself in a box, but I try to keep them out of that.
Yeah, it's a funny little dance because the box helps us have some framework, but then we get too far into the box and then we like lose sight of even like the heartbeat of who we are and what our business is here to do and even our tone. Right?
Yes.
Like brands have tones. The way that you write is a tone. And we get caught in like how everyone else is writing and how everyone else is talking or the way that somebody else told us to do. And it's like we even lose our own voice in our messaging. And it's no wonder you don't want to do it.
Exactly. And then we end up, like you were saying when we last spoke, retreating, right? And not putting anything out there because you're second guessing yourself constantly. And it ends up this play, right? So you're not ever moving forward. At the end of the day, marketing has to be tested. Like if you have an idea, you have to put it out there, see if it resonates. You can't just sit on it. You'll never know. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs think that somebody has this secret sauce to marketing. We give that power away and we don't just own this might be a topic that my clients would resonate with, may not have anything to do with your business. I had a client and a very long confidant colleague of mine. She posted a video of her kids at this like swim park, and it was her most viral video. She had a little bit of like a context on how this related back to her business. She was able to spend time with her kids in the summer, and it was her most viral video. And it also got her the most traction on her podcast, I believe. So you just never know unless you try.
Well, I think that brings up a really important reminder that people want to do business with people,
Yeah.
not just this perfectly curated brand or these perfect graphics or everything being just right. People want to do business with people. And when we let them into our world and we show that human side of us, it's like, I don't know, it just takes down this invisible barrier of, oh, they're not approachable, or I could never work with them, or, whatever stories that are being formulated right now. It says like, oh, I can relate to her.
Yeah.
I have a similarity with her, or oh, I didn't know she was doing that or going through that. I didn't know she had kids. I didn't know that. It humanizes business.
Yeah. Especially in today's society where everything is AI or curated
Mhm.
perfectly, right? Because that's what a lot of coaches have been saying for so many years. It's like the trickle down effect, right? So we see so many businesses leaning into this like perfectly curated brand, and they put themselves in this little part of the niche, market, and they're not able to expand to really make human connection. Vulnerability is one of my values, and I am so vulnerable. Sometimes I think I'm giving too much, but it ends up like attracting the most aligned clients because they're like, I also lost my parents when I was young, and that's why I started this brand. So that's why I'm hiring you to do your marketing. It's like one of the most powerful pieces, right, of us is sometimes what we're not sharing, and maybe the exact reason why you're not getting hired. Like that's the cold hard truth of it all for our gutsy group. But I'm sure if you're gutsy, you should go for it, right? Like share the story, share it with someone. That's why I love being on podcasts, because I can actually tell my story. People can hear my tone, they can hear the way I talk, the way I think about things, the way I approach marketing. Because if it doesn't resonate with them, no harm, no foul. They're just not my people, you know?
Yeah. There is a reason that the top downloaded episode of the Gutsy podcast is about my story filing bankruptcy.
Wow. Yes. Yeah.
People want to know. Is some of it because they're nosy and they just want to be in like, the heightened drama of something? Maybe. I like crime shows and podcasts are top rated for a reason. No crime here, friends. But I think a big part of it is, who else is going through that or considering that or knows somebody that's going through that they just want to hear the reality behind it. Like
Yeah.
a lot of those vulnerable stories and situations are very isolating. And we want to shut down because we want to protect ourselves and we don't want to be seen as something or whatever. And I think there's an important time frame. Like obviously I didn't record that episode while I was going through bankruptcy.
Yes.
The wound was open. I didn't have the perspective yet. I wasn't grounded in it. I didn't have lessons to teach. I was like terrible. I felt awful. You know what I mean? But a few years later, now I've grown from it. Now I'm on the other side of it. Now I can guide, I can teach, I can inspire, I can provide something to help somebody. That's the grounded place to share from a vulnerable story, because when it's open and seeping, it ooh, not a great place, because you're allowed to keep those things to yourself. And I also just want to say too, like, you also don't have to share every vulnerable part of yourself,
Yes.
to be relatable. You don't have to let everybody into every crevice of your life. You get to choose what you want to be vulnerable about and how deep you want to go with it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I have so many clients that come to me and they're like, I don't want to share me in my bathroom every morning. And I said, guess
Fair.
what? You don't have to. I'm like, that's the best thing about this life. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. But I think we see so many people online, we get into this imposter syndrome. We tell ourselves we have to be an influencer to make money. Like, I've seen so many influencers, they've not made a dime off social media. That's the reality of it. So, for anybody listening that's maybe feeling that push and pull and not sure what to be posting, just bring it back to the basics, right? Like reel it in, share your story. I love what you mentioned about don't spew it when it's not calloused, right? When you haven't
Yeah.
maybe digested some of those moments, and give yourself time. You'll know when it's right. Your intuition will tell you. Sometimes it just comes out and you're like, oh, I can't believe I shared that. When I shared my story on a podcast, actually, where I got my biggest client, I was like, I cannot believe I just said that. And I actually messaged the host after and I was like, did I just totally word vomit like all over the show? She goes, no, it was great. Like, if you're okay with it, I'm going to post it. I'm so glad that I did because it attracted my best client.
See, that's the power of trusting your intuition.
Yeah.
And especially when we're talking about content, let's get in the weeds of this a little bit, because I think that there's this always kind of this internal conflict of, I want to prepare my content. I want to write it ahead of time. I want to be proactive versus no, I want to do it in the moment. I want to do it when I'm in my feel, or when I get that spark. How do you suggest working with that kind of conflicting method?
Yeah, it's such a good point. I hear this all the time too, right? And there's a part of me that wants to say, I'll do it tomorrow. If I have a busy day, I'm not doing it. It's the last thing on the list. So I think you have to be honest with yourself. Like, what is your capacity? Do you have time tomorrow to write the post? Or is it best to start to compile some of your intuitive ideas and work them further out? That's when we start to get to an intuitive marketing plan where you're not just flying by the wind, right? Flying by the wayside. Doesn't mean that there's not a time and a place for that. But it's not always the most, I would say, integrated into your marketing plan over time. Like, there's a way to share your story and bring it back to your offer. There's a way to share your story and get clients from it. And sometimes when you're just sharing your story, but it's maybe not looping back to your purpose, then you've lost everybody. So that's the way I like to approach intuitive content is I just compile a note. I have all of these ideas, a running list. I normally create a podcast around it. Then I create content from that podcast because that's coming from my intuition. That's what's worked for me. Every business owner is different. But if you're falling every day when you know that you should be creating the content, it's probably time to start to, plan a little bit further out. Could be a week, could be a month ahead. Totally up to you. Again, like on what your capacity is at that time.
Yeah, I think the reminder here is that there's no right way to do any of this.
Yes.
Like, and I don't know about you, but like my method evolves too. Like the way that I create content now is very different than the way I did 5 years ago. And so that's part of following your intuition as well, is knowing when something's working and when it's not working. For me, what I have found works fairly well. I'm not perfect at this by any means, but it works fairly well. Is if I'm promoting something specific, if I'm planning something out, and definitely if there's a date attached to something, that's usually when I need to like be proactive and like sit and think and plan that content out, because then I've got some like milestone chunky bits along the way. And then where I give myself the freedom and flexibility when I get that intuitive hit or something that I want to share or conversation that I've had with a client that has a lesson that I could teach my audience on social with, then I pop open my phone and I record the video and then I save it in my drafts until I can sit and, format it and do all that kind of good stuff. So I kind of play with both. Like I play with the planning and strategically getting stuff out there, especially when it comes to speaking and scheduling on LinkedIn. I want to be a little bit more strategic with that, but I don't stop myself from creating in the moment either. Thoughts on that?
Definitely. I have a lot of thoughts. I find I have moments as well where it's like, okay, I have to speak on this today, or I might lose it, or I might not remember the thought, because you can take a note and you can write a paragraph, but it might not flow the way that you're like channeling that energy in the moment. So I do the same thing. I have like so many videos saved that I actually send my team and I'm like, okay, make this something. It's sometimes like a 10-minute long video, and I may tell them these are the specific parts that I want included. Don't take that out, but trim it up, make it sound a little bit better, more digestible. Do we do part 1, part 2, part 3? I think that that's where bringing in other ideas can actually help you become more expansive, as long as they're the right type of person. I always say to my clients when they have a marketing idea, I say, like, literally say, I want to trust your intuition. Like, what feels best to talk about today? Let's go all in on it. Let's change it up. There's nothing set in stone. And I think that that's where a lot of us get caught up. It's like, we can change this at any time, but we tell ourselves, oh, we have to follow this exact order. Like you were saying, really put ourselves into that box again. But just strip away all the beliefs, do what you feel is best. That's when you're going to get the best results. And if you're struggling with that, again, it's probably more of like a self-connection that just takes a little bit more time to build, and continue to do those practices to get back to yourself. We give so much of our power away through social. It can be very loud. Like a lot of my business owners are like, the last thing I want to do is be on Instagram. So that's when we come in and we like to utilize their intuitions in different ways to help that content process.
Love it. Very relatable when you talk about the paragraphs of information that you're afraid you're going to lose it. I have things in my notes app where I'm like, what the fuck does that even mean?
Yes.
What does that mean, Laura? And I leave it there in case it comes back. But there's something that I've learned is when something so crystal clear comes to me, that's my intuition working, right? I'm channeling, I'm receiving, I'm in it. Even just recording like a voice note, if I don't have the time to do the thing, because sometimes that happens, a voice note can go a long way because then I can just blab it out and feel it out. But if I have the time and or I can make the time to see that idea through, that is always, always, always the content that does best. I mean, every freaking time. So there's some real power in when you're channeling that stuff, like allowing yourself to do the thing because you're in your highest vibration, you are in alignment, you're really feeling it. It doesn't mean you have to post it in that moment,
Yeah.
but just capturing it when you're in that kind of juiciness, you're in flow, right? Like that's trusting that energetic side of yourself in your business. It's always the best content. Always.
And like, I don't know how you feel, but I'm almost like an intuit. I'm more of like an introvert extrovert. So when I want to talk, it's like, okay, this is it. This is
Yeah.
the moment. Because then there's some days where I'm like, literally don't talk to me. Like I'm like in my mute stage, we're miming. Like I'm good if I don't talk to anybody all day. So I love what you mentioned. If you're feeling that, write it down, do the voice notes. We use voice notes all the time in my business. We actually have running voice notes with clients, and I tell them, hey, if you have an idea, you're driving in the car, literally voice note it out. We will package it, with the content creation. Because sometimes that also gets in the way. It's like, does this need to be a carousel? Should it be a reel? Right?
Oh, yeah.
All these like intricate questions. None of that matters anyway, just so everybody's listening. The message is what matters. Like it goes back to the core of the message. Doesn't matter if it's a reel, a carousel, static post. Maybe it's all three. Maybe you want to expand on it for an entire month. That's how great of an intuitive idea it is. So that's where it can go in so many different directions.
A foundational conversation we have to have around building a successful business is defining what success looks and feels like to you, not to everybody else. See, a lot of times we start our business off of the models that work for the people that we see online. Those things might work temporarily, give you a quick win, but then it fizzles out and it's not sustainable. Or it doesn't work at all, and you start questioning who you are and if you can even do this. In Auralign, we stop forcing what doesn't feel aligned and start building your life and business from your actual truth. Inside Auralign, we are realigning your energy, your habits, your beliefs. We shift the things that no longer work and maybe never did in the first place. And we build a clear, simplified plan so you know where to focus your time and your energy. It's time for your body and your business to feel good again. Learn more and snag one of the final spots of Auralign by going to lauraora.com/mastermind. I'm glad you brought this up because I struggle with this because my intuition can be very sharp and it is very sharp. And I can get an idea very quickly, but nothing kills that idea faster than the execution of it.
Yeah.
Meaning, now I'll make the graphics, now I'll do this, now I'll write the caption, like the technicalities of it. How do you recommend balancing like the big idea and the energy that's flowing and then the kind of technical part that tends to kind of dim that energy?
Yeah, I mean it's different for everybody, right? So like I hate that I keep saying that, but I want to stress that there's not just one path. Like if the idea is so great that you have a real, like I always expand on it in a carousel to think about it from more of a data driven side. Everybody consumes different types of content. Some people love reading static posts. Some people only consume reels. Somebody lives in the stories all the time. They never even go to their feed. So every consumer is different. So when you have that big of an idea, most of the time it's best to space it out. That's why I like weekly topics when they're driven by intuition, because it's normally like not just one little sentence. It's probably a very large concept when you're getting an intuitive download, and it's probably best to expand on it across different days. So that's the way I like to approach it. And if you're getting hung up, I say do all three, make all of the posts, right? Because then you don't have to feel like you're putting your ideas only in one type of piece of content that can be consumed.
Well, I'm thinking as you're talking, I'm like, oh, why didn't I ever think about this before? Maybe the right next answer or something that we can all explore is when you get that as intuitive idea, what is the method that you resonate the most with? And do it and capture it in that one first. And then later on, as you're planning out or when you're in more of like a sit down, strategize type of mode, you can use that original piece of content to create others.
That's like exactly honestly what I do. I just prefer to talk it out. That's just like how my intuition best flows. Some people are writers, right? They want to physically write it out. Some people are more visual. They want to create the graphic first. So that's where it all goes back to like what type of creator are you. You may change it up. You may be a writer one day, you may be a speaker in the next. Like you can be all the things. But I love that you said like feel into what feels best in that moment, create from that place. And then that's why we do, honestly, most of the time, weekly topics. Because if you just create one post on your intuitive post, sometimes you're not expanding again to all of those other audiences. So you may be missing out. It doesn't mean that you should not listen to your intuition, but it also may mean, okay, maybe I have all of these grand ideas and I can start to space them out over time and not just siphon to one thing, like one different reel every day. Kind of goes back to marketing. It's like people need time to be warmed by your intuitive knowledge. Most of the time, it's not just one reel that makes them buy. Now, sometimes it's 12, almost 15 times before you have to touch somebody for them to really think, oh, maybe I should reach out to her. Because they want to test the waters. The consumers are smart. We're smart. We know what we're doing. We don't want to get wrapped up in some conversation where we're sold all the time. We're sold all day long. We just want to talk. We want to connect with people. So that's how I approach it for that reason.
Yeah. And I'm thinking too, like even choosing that method is an intuitive choice.
Yeah.
Like if you normally create video first, but today you're feeling called to create a graphic, like even trusting that and that is going to be what lands the best for the right person in the moment in which you post it. You know what I mean? It's a trickle down effect in a really great way, but it all starts with that initial trust of self and allowing yourself to follow through with that.
Yeah. Right. Because the more you trust, it's always going to the right people every time. If you sit on it, some ideas I've sat on for 3 months and then I'm like, okay, it's time.
It's
I know
time.
they're ready for this. 3 months ago, definitely not. Today, yeah. So it all depends. That's why I like the documents or the voice notes too. Because you'll know, like when your idea comes back to you, you'll be like, okay, now it's time. Like there's a reason why it's not coming through yet. So I just trust that. I don't question it. I don't force myself, much like you. I just keep it there, leave it on the side. It'll come back when it's time, when it's the right time.
Let it marinate, let it do what it needs to do. And then man, when it's time, it's time. How like what does your intuition look, sound, or feel like?
That's such a good question. Mine is very audible. Like I can hear, I'm not more of a visualizer. Like some people can see. I'm Reiki certified. So now that I'm Reiki certified, like I see things when I'm in a Reiki session. But a lot of my intuitive downloads are audible. So I will get like I wake up in the middle of the night and I have an idea and I have to write it down because I will forget it. And if I don't write it down, it's out the door. But also, if I don't write it down, it gets louder. Like it gets very loud in my ears. Most of the time, I call it like my guides because I do feel like I'm guided. That's just the concept that I put it in. Everybody has a different view on that. But I really believe it's like a connection to my spirituality. It's like my higher self guiding me, telling me to do these things. Do I always listen? No, because I'm human, but I'm working on listening more every day.
Yeah, it's a muscle. I always say that your intuition is a muscle. And the more you use it, the stronger it gets and the sharper it gets. Like mine is undeniable now at this point. I've used it and strengthened it so many times. Also ignored it enough times to like put all that together in a pot where it's like, oh, it is very clear to me. So my intuition is like a lightning bolt. Like it's a sharp, very clear like statement or saying or idea. Like it literally comes in like a flash. And when it does that, I'm like, oh, I either need to do something with this or I need to write it down because there's something with this. So I can appreciate it. I think it's interesting how we all experience it differently. I know you're into human design as well. And that maybe I'm saying this right. I think it's the authority, perhaps, is where we need to, kind of lean into and follow our intuition. I'm a splenic projector, so it's it makes sense when you're splenic, the idea comes. It's quick. It will literally run past me faster than I can even notice it if I don't acknowledge it.
Yes. And projectors are actually more likely to also talk things out. Like I've worked in coaching containers. I'm not a human design expert. My colleague is, but I learned so much from her. She's awesome. Her name's Claire. And she was explaining to us inside our coaching container where I was teaching like the marketing side of human design. A lot of projectors have to physically talk things out. We had one guy in there, he was so cool. He would send himself like 20-minute long voice messages. And then he was like, okay, now I feel so good. Like I know exactly what I need to do. It's not even about listening back to it. It's normally just like the expression. When he was trying to figure out, a question or something that he was facing. So yeah, a lot of projectors love to talk things out. It makes a lot of sense, especially because you're splenic. So
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. So if you've not gone down the rabbit hole, by the way, friend, um, of human design, that's a really interesting way to get to know yourself and your intuition and how you experience it, because it's all different. Like the way I experience it is different than you, and the way you experience it is different than your partners. And like it's it's such an intimate experience. And I think that that's sometimes why we're like, we question it or we go back and forth or we're not sure, because maybe it doesn't look, sound, or feel like something that we're familiar with through other people, but it's one of our coolest assets. And when we lean into it, gosh, that things just truly, truly get easier when you trust it.
it's the best tool that we have. Like, I love what you mentioned about how you've been able to hone your intuition. I find if I ignore it, like you said, it gets really loud and then you can't ignore it anymore, or it lessens because I'm listening somewhere else. Like, I'm giving attention to a different authority figure outside of me most of the time. So, the more you lean into it, the stronger it gets, the louder it gets, and you'll be surprised how quickly it can happen. Like I've seen people, like you mentioned before, totally change their lives with their intuition for the better. My mom's actually one of them. She's like totally changed in like the past 2 years. It's wild to watch. And when you're an external person watching it happen, you think they must know something that I don't know.
Mm,
And you think that they have all the answers, but the answers are always within. It's not in that other person.
yeah. Yeah. There's two things actually that you mentioned earlier that here, I'm following my intuition here. I wrote them down because it was one of those sharp moments where it's like, talk about this stuff. I'm like, okay, I got you. One, you talked about looping back in your content, because sometimes when we intuitively create, we can like get on tangents, or we, talk about something we're really passionate about, but it's not necessarily like we don't end it or transition it with leading people in or inviting people in, or we end up with a conversion problem. So people are spending a shit ton of time making a lot of content, and you're like, it's intuitive, it felt good, like it was exciting, but why aren't people converting? How Talk to me about how do you use that to loop back in? How do we use the intuitive marketing but also be strategic in our conversions?
Totally. This is such a great point. And I've actually never had this question before, which is really unique. So I love this
Yay,
intuitive,
fun.
because so many of my clients, they're like, well, I'm intuitively creating, but I'm not converting. And they're frustrated by that. So if you, the listeners, are experiencing that, it's okay. You're already halfway there. And it's all about the call to action. Why are you sharing this story? Is it values based? Is it your experience? Our life experiences also impact our business. You guys know that by now. It's all integrated, it's all one. So, how does this story that you're telling about your life loop back to your business? Like, we kind of have to round it out. We always forget to round it out. We might be like, and that's my thought. Okay, bye. Close the phone, right? And that's great too, because you're still following your intuition. That's why it's so strong. Always loop it back. How is it connected to the business? Like that viral post that I mentioned. She's sharing her kids at this waterfall park. Like, it makes no sense, you would think, to your business, but it got the views and it got people to read the caption. And that's why it started to go viral, because she looped it back to her business. She's able to hang out with her family, right? That's helping her create more of an abundant, prosperous life. That's why people would maybe want to work with her. So it's all about like that values base, but also how does this story tie back in to your business Instagram account? Like, why aren't you just posting this story randomly on your personal account? Why is this resonating with your audience? You know, that's always a good question to ask yourself too.
Great. Those are great examples. It's remembering to tie it back. Why are you creating this? What is the intent? What is the intent with this? Like,
Yes.
where do you want to guide people next, or what action do you want them to take? Like, that kind of dabbles into, I don't want to be salesy. I don't want to push all the time. I don't want to be one of those people online. So like, I just know that somebody's thinking that right now. So what do you suggest, or what do you say to that person?
You know, with so much love, they don't know that you even sell anything. They don't even know that you have an offer, you know? So we have to start to ask ourselves, does anybody know what I do? Like, I remember my first 3 years into business, every single family party, I love my family. They're great. They're so supportive. They're like, what the heck do you do? I realized that I wasn't talking about my services enough. You know, I wasn't saying I manage social media for business owners. I was just sharing the stories or the testimonials, but they're like, this doesn't really add up. It doesn't make sense. So that's why you always have to give the offer. There's so many people out there that want to work with you. You're leaving money, opportunity, referral partners on the table. You're doing yourself an injustice by not selling. It's okay to sell. Embody it. You are a gutsy person. You're listening to this show. Don't be afraid of selling. Just don't try to oversell. You're not selling if you're just sharing your offer. People can decide to opt in or out of your content. It's just a light, here's what I do at the end of it. That's why, you know, I do this. It's just like a nice little nudge into what you do. Could be anything, you know. But yeah, definitely start selling. So many people just probably don't know what you're selling about. And like I mentioned, you have to share things sometimes 15 times nowadays because they're being sold, they're being yelled at by ads every day. So subliminal selling or subliminal offers, if you don't want to call it selling, is a much easier way to sell because no one wants to be sold. I've all the time in my DMs, people will be like, so do you mind just telling me a little bit about your offers? Because I'm talking about them. They know that I can help them in some way. And I say, if I can't help you, I'll tell you, right? I don't want to work with somebody that I can't help. Like,
Right.
you're listening to this show, you have good intentions. You're not here to be a sleazy salesperson. So keep that in mind too. People need your help. You know, if it's not about you, right? It's about them. What are they then missing out on if you're not giving your offer? Imagine how many people you could be helping right now.
Such a good reminder, truly. And also, if we don't have sales, we don't have a business.
Yes.
We have a glorified hobby.
Yes.
So at some point, we have to accept that sales is part of the process. And it's another one of those things. Do it intuitively the way that feels right to you.
Yeah.
Like, if you see a way that somebody is marketing or selling that you don't like, trust that. Doesn't mean you have to replicate it. What feels right for you? And it might be an experiment. You might have to try a few things out to see what you like and what lands, and like formulate your own way to do it. But you have to do it if you want to be in business.
Unfortunately, it's a part of the game, you know? So I remember when I had this epiphany, like literally at Thanksgiving, I was like, I have to go home and I have to start selling. My fiance is in sales and he was like, I've been telling you this for a few months now. He's like, I watch all your videos. I have no clue what you're selling, right?
Yeah.
It's confused buyer. It's that old saying, confused buyers never buy. It's the truth. So just have more clarity, right? Understand what your offer is. Most of the time it's best to just start with one and then you can start to expand. That's where your funnel comes in. That's where your online offers can start to build. we don't want to confuse anybody. We don't want to oversell. We just want them to know we're here to help. It's more of like a support than selling. A lot of what we offer is support anyway. I sell people time. That's like, I think people think I'm selling them social media management. No, I'm giving them their time back. That's what I focus on. That's the outcome that we want, right? So if you're not sure what your emotional transition is, that's probably also important to come back to. What are you emotionally selling your clients versus the physical service or, product?
Yeah, because people don't care that you're gonna, and I'm just making this up right now, that you're gonna, you know, write 14 posts a month and send 2 emails and, have DM services like that over. But, you have time to work on whatever you want to work on, that you can be off on the weekends, that you're not up late at night on your laptop, you're with your kids instead. Like, okay, now we're tugging at some heartstrings. We're in a relatability moment.
Yeah, exactly. People want to know that, like, the people that we're working with, this kind of loops back to the top of our podcast. People are people, right? They're not this like robot of AI. Like the client that we attract is like, I hate AI most of the time. And I'm like, great, because we only have people that work here. Yeah, we utilize AI when it's necessary for efficiency, but it's not like our entire business is run on AI. We wouldn't be successful. This is a human to human business. Nowadays, if you're human to human operating, you're probably in the niche part of the market and you're probably intuitive enough to know that that's the way things will swing back. I was actually just thinking about this last night. Remember when Verizon used to only have like robotic people that you would call and you'd have to scream operator into the phone
Like 30 times.
yeah.
Yes.
That's what it's eventually going to become. So it's all about understanding your consumer, your buyer. Who do you want to serve? How are you supporting them? What's that emotional outcome that you're giving them? And then just talking to them from that place, right? It's just a conversation. I think we all feel so much pressure around it, especially holistic wellness businesses, because we don't want to come off pushy. You're not pushing somebody if you're helping them.
Yeah. Funny you mentioned AI, because that's my second question. And my final
Yay.
question here for you today is, AI is a great tool. It's a great assistant in many ways. But I think that AI, no, I'm not going to say what I think. I'm curious what you think. What are your thoughts on how AI is going to affect intuition?
I think it's numbing society.
Mm-hmm.
That's my true thoughts. I also think that there's a place for it because now that it's here, it's probably never going to go away. But I think the way we use it will have to be honed differently. It's crazy to me that like people in college can just go and have their papers written by ChatGPT. Like I think about how many times I spend hours and hours, right? And now I'm really grateful to have that experience because it kind of given me a leg up, right? Where a lot of these younger generations may not have that skill set because they're leaning on AI so heavily. So, not to go down that rabbit hole, but I really find that within marketing, there's going to be an extreme dissonance. It's already happening. People don't want to be sold. They certainly don't want to be sold by a robot. So they want human to human connection. That's, I think, the businesses that will succeed. But I do think that there's a place for it efficiency wise. It saved us a lot of hours for my team. They've gotten some of their life back, right? Then sitting behind the computer, checking every single apostrophe, and we use it for editing, physically editing a caption. But everything still has to be read. It still has to be read through, but maybe doesn't have to be, intricately like edited down to the vowel in the word, right? Because at the end of the day, we're human. But I do think there's a place for it, but I don't think it's going to last or boom for as long as some businesses think it's going to.
Interesting. Yeah. I just think it's one of those things where, you know, hear yourself, get your ideas, feel into that stuff, and then use it as an aid. Like
Yes.
like it's not replacing your human ideas. It's not replacing your tug or your pull or your stories or your lived experience, but instead it's going to help amplify those things.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great way
Yeah.
of looking at it.
Caitlin, I can tell that you eat, sleep, and breathe marketing and content and growing businesses. So I want to make sure everyone knows where to find and connect with you. What's the best place to get you?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Instagram's my place, my platform of choice, I'll say, for my own business. I'm also over on LinkedIn. It's at Meraki, MERAKI _media_management. That's where you can reach out to me, connect. I also have my website, MerakiMediaManagement.com, and my podcast, The End in Mind.
Amazing. We'll link all that in the show notes. And I want to know, what does gutsy mean to you?
Oh, this is so good. This is like one of my favorite questions that you ask. I think gutsy is really about doing things when you don't have a lot of support. Like, people don't mean to be mean, but they can be a little judgy at times in this society. And I think when you do things that are outside of the box, you're definitely gutsy. So if you're listening to this podcast, you're for sure gutsy. If you're starting a business, go for it. If you're on a personal development journey, 90% of people never get to that place. So congratulate yourself, and you're all definitely gutsy in my mind.
I hope that today's conversation was a reminder that you don't need to perform. You don't need to build your business the way that it appears that it's working for somebody else. Your content doesn't have to look, sound, or feel like anybody else's. In fact, the more that you do those things, the more you get off track to your own success, to your own health, to your own peace. You did not start this business to be burnt out, stressed out, and questioning yourself every single day. And the sooner you get back to your roots, you start trusting yourself and making moves that align with who you are and what you actually want, friend, everything gets fucking easier. I promise you. If you're still navigating how to do this, you can kind of feel yourself at a pivot or a growth point and you're not sure what to do next. Let's hop on a call. I do 30-minute free clarity sessions to help you find what your right next step is. You can book that by going to lauraora.com/clarity, or I've put a handy dandy little link in the show notes below. You can also shoot me a DM. I'm on all the platforms. My handle is @thatlauraora. And as always, until I see you next time, stay gutsy.